So we're continuing our discussion on how a parent grid can send commands to a child grid, and what we've just done previously to this is go to the child grid, and in the after grid render event we've set a global JavaScript variable that contains the ID of the child grid. So now we're back editing the invoice header, which is the parent grid, and we've commented out our previous code here, and we've left in the first two lines which just read the value of the sales rep field from the current row in the parent grid. But now you can see we've added this code over here. So the first thing that we're doing is we're making our script more robust by checking to see whether this global variable child1 ID actually exists. So we're checking to see if type of window and then child1 ID is undefined, and if it is undefined, then we're going to just exit from the function and not do anything. But if it's not undefined, then let's just start off by just alerting it to see what's there. Then let's construct the name of the child object by just adding on an underbar grid obj to it. So at this point now, this child object name should be properly constructed, just like this over here, excepting that we didn't need to know now what the naming convention of the grid was. We just asked the child grid to publish its ID in some common JavaScript global variable, and then we've just read that value out. So now that we know what the name of the child object is, we can again go and get this current row in the child grid and then set the value of the product ID field in the child grid. So let's go ahead now and run this. So open up the row expander, and now let's give focus, say, to row 3 now, and press this button. So what we expect to see is this value, Delanovitz, filled into this product ID field over there. So go ahead and press. So here's the value that's sitting right now in that global JavaScript variable, grid1 underbar row 1 G1, but there's no trailing underbar grid obj, so we added that on. Now there's the row that has focus, which is row 3, and there's the value that has been filled in. So we've accomplished the exact same thing that we accomplished earlier with this code over here, but we have a more robust solution because we didn't need to know what the naming convention is that Alpha 5 uses for its child grid. We just let the child grid in effect publish its ID to some global JavaScript variable. So this is shown here in these series of videos how it's possible for one grid to send to send commands to another grid, and how it's easy for a child grid to talk to its parent, and how a parent grid can talk to its children, or how two sibling grids could talk to each other, as long as you know what the alias is of the grid that you're trying to talk to. So I hope you found this interesting. Thanks very much.